in my view, history and logic shows that Ukraine's real security is neutrality, that is security in and of itself, in fact, because the history of Europe, it's a long history, but even the history of post-World War II is that countries that were neutral remain neutral and basically unbothered by the Soviet Union or by Russia or by the Cold War or by the post-Cold War Cold War. In other words, countries that were neutral, like Sweden and Finland, which chose for wrong reasons recently to end their long neutrality, were not bothered by the Soviet Union or by Russia. Austria is my favorite case because it was an explicit design that Austria would become neutral in 1955. The Soviet troops would leave, and I think it's right to say the Soviet Union never bothered Austria again, nor did Russia bother Austria. So we exaggerate the need for boots on the ground or Article 5 like guarantees. Neutrality is desirable for both sides of a conflict. In other words, Ukraine being in the middle but neutral is by itself a major guarantee because both sides have an incentive to leave well enough alone so that neither is bothered by the other. And it was exactly undermining neutrality that led to the war in the first place. A second point is that Russia has proposed, and I think there's a very logical and reasonable way to do it, that Russia is one of the guarantors of peace because it's got security interests that need to be respected alongside Ukraine. The logical place for a real security arrangement is the UN Security Council. That automatically brings in the US, UK, and France, but also Russia and China, and it brings the public exposure and the ways to monitor an agreement. Now, we all know it's not perfect, but this is a way, I think, to make very clear what is agreed, to have independent monitoring. And in our world, that is pretty good and probably the best that should be aimed at